Okay, welcome to episode number 2 of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. I am Jessica Lorimer, your hostess with the mostest, and I cannot wait to dive into today's topic, which is all about how you can sell in Facebook groups without being pitchy McSleazy, right? I'm so excited. It's just the coolest topic. Now, I want to dive in on this and be very clear about my background with Facebook groups. And Facebook in general, really. I have a kind of love-hate relationship with Facebook. One, I kind of love it and always have because it allows my family to see photos of me and my dog and things that they care about when they can't actually, see me in person. And as I started growing my business online, I kind of figured out that actually, there were other ways of making Facebook work for my online business. And that was really, really interesting to me. And I kind of joined a few groups and I surrounded myself with these other people who were obviously completely crazy like me. They wanted to start up businesses. They were working full-time in their jobs. They were starting up their business on the side. They were hustling all of the hours. And that's how my affinity with Facebook groups really popped up. And I kind of realized the potential that they had to grow my own client base, and B, the potential that I had to be able to network with other people who were just like me and build this kind of online community that I believe you really need as a business owner in the online space. Because let's face it, if we worked in a corporate job, we would be going, we'd be going out for lunch with our colleagues, we would be sat in the same office, we'd have people to talk to all day. And when you become an online entrepreneur, you kind of isolate yourself from that. You sit at home, let's say 12 hours a day until somebody comes home and, maybe you've got a partner or a spouse, and they come home, they have dinner with you and they talk about their day. But ultimately, for the rest of those kind of 12 hours that you are working, you are usually just sat in your office, or in my case, I used to sit in the kitchen when I first started, and it can be quite isolating and it can make you feel like you really are alone. So for me, when I started in the online space, having these groups, having these communities that I could connect with like-minded people who actually understood what I was going through, who could provide helpful advice, who could support me, who I could, give something back to with the limited knowledge that I had at the time, was really, really powerful. And it definitely saved my sanity on many occasions, from working out how to use new tools, to holding my first webinar, to being able to celebrate with people when I landed my first clients. These were the people, and these still are the people that have developed into my best networks, my biz besties, the people that have bought from me, the people that I have gone on to buy from. And so I think that they are a huge, huge tool in the online space. But obviously, when you create something, when you look at these groups and when you look at how quickly people have jumped on these groups as a marketing tool and as a sales tool, you find that it gets to a point where oversaturation happens and where people are in like thousands and thousands of Facebook groups, and suddenly, you're in about 250 groups, you don't know anyone, you're not building any relationships, and actually you're not focusing on the key money-making activities that you need to be in your business because you're so focused on, oh my goodness, I have 10,000 Facebook notifications to go through. So that's kind of why when I sat down and I looked at today's episode and what I really wanted to cover, I wanted to focus on how you can actually make money using these Facebook groups, because it's something that everyone preaches. Every coach out there will tell you, whatever industry you're in, whatever ideal client you have, they're like, yeah, just go out, search for a couple of Facebook groups, rock up, offer a few discovery calls, and you'll be a millionaire by Christmas. And that's not always how it works. In fact, 90% of the time, that is not going to be how it works. But there are definitely ways of doing it where you can increase your money-making ability considerably, but also you're not seen as some random that just rocks up on the group newsfeed, doesn't know anybody, pitches all your stuff, spams the group, and becomes that person that everybody then avoids because they're like, you have no interest in relationship building at all. You just want to make a ton of money. And there's nothing wrong with that. let's be clear, there is absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to make a ton of money. There is absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to make a huge impact on the world. There is something wrong if you do it in a way that makes people feel gross or sleazy or like they have to scrub themselves with salt after they've talked to you. Okay, those are not good things. Those are things that you don't want associated with you or with your brand. So that's what we're going to be covering off today. So on that note, because I like to keep things simple, right? You know, when I'm looking at preparing these episodes and looking at these deep dive trainings, I like to do things in threes because I'm maybe a little bit OCD and I really like the number 3. And also I find that you have a limited attention span. There are a limited amount of things that you can take action on. So in these episodes and in these trainings, what I want to do is give you a really deep dive and give you really good information that you could go away and actually take action on, rather than a list of 250 to-dos that will never ever happen, but sounded really good when you were listening to it, okay? So we're gonna start with how you can actually sell in these groups by building relationships, okay? Because ultimately, in the online space, we all preach relationship-based marketing. And I absolutely stand behind that. And I am one of these people that uses that phrase, even though it's starting to become overused. I still stand behind the fact that relationship-based marketing and relationship-based sales is absolutely key. Because ultimately, people buy from people. You know, we don't buy from the sexy branding. We don't buy from the hyped up logo. We don't even buy from the really cool jingle that someone put on their podcast. Maybe we do. But having said that, you know, in terms of becoming somebody that people want to buy from, it means you have to show up as somebody that people actually can enjoy engaging with, that they like, that they trust, that they know, that they feel adds value to their life on a daily basis. So when you are showing up in other people's Facebook groups or in your own, the first thing that you've got to really be thinking about is, am I showing up as somebody that I would want to hang out with? You know, am I showing up as a person that I would trust, that I would say has integrity, that I would say is the expert in my field, that I would say is actually out there to help other people and support other people, rather than just trying to ram my services down everybody's throat? And yes, I am laughing to myself at that mental image. I'm sorry. But the first thing you want to be doing when you're obviously showing up in these spaces is thinking about, am I adding genuine value? Now, that doesn't mean just adding value in your area of expertise, because let's face it, we've all seen these posts that talk at us, you know, oh, I'm a marketing expert and I just want to give you these 3 top tips about marketing, even though this group is actually about weight loss. It's not relevant and it doesn't add any value. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I'm sure it establishes you as the expert in your field, but it also makes you look like you haven't actually taken any time to do any research on what that group is about or add any genuine value to the people in the group, right? So the first thing you want to be thinking about is, am I adding genuine value, not just in my area of expertise? So am I showing up? Am I supporting other people? Am I answering questions that I might know the answer to? Am I sharing recommendations? You know, if I don't know the answer to a question, I'll recommend somebody who might be able to help you. You know, yeah, okay, they might then go on and get business. They might make money instead of me. But ultimately, I'm then seen as somebody who likes to connect people. I'm somebody who then is seen as somebody who actually takes pride in building my own network and who values my connections and who is happy to pass along names and recommendations of people that I know, like, and trust. You know, I'm not just focused on making my own money all of the time. And that actually comes back in spades. You know, when you show up and you add genuine value, both in your own area of expertise, and we're going to cover off how you can do that without being pitchy McGross in a bit, but also when you are adding genuine value in terms of just showing up and being a participant, a really good participant of the community, it flags you as being somebody that other people want to spend time with. It flags you as being somebody that acts with integrity, that, you know, genuinely is focused on the core theme of social media, which is be social, communicate with others, you know, connect and engage. And that's really, really important to people. The second thing that you want to be looking at there when in terms of adding value is you want to be thinking about the kinds of people you're connecting with in the group. Now, in any community, there are going to be 3 different types of people. Okay. Ultimately, they're going to be the people that you want to buy from you. So there's going to be your prospects or your potential clients, your potential buyers, however you want to refer to them. Now, those people, ultimately, you want them to see you as showing up, as adding value, establishing yourself as the expert, making sure that they know who you are, what you do, and how you can potentially help them. Now, the second lot of people in communities are ultimately your competitors, okay? Now, I prefer to think of my competitors as collaborators or my peers, because actually, a lot of my competitors are very good people and they do amazing things. Now, some of them do amazing things that are very similar to me. Some of them actually specialize in different areas. You know, I'm very good friends with a lot of sales coaches who specialize purely in things like helping people ace the sales call, or helping people with specific types of sales copy and how to brand themselves so that they sell particularly well. You know, there are lots of different elements to your business. And so if you think of every single competitor as somebody that you must beat down at every opportunity, you're going to spend so much of your time being in like comparisonitis land, worrying about, oh my goodness, is my competitor doing better than me? Are they writing better posts than me? Do people like me more than they like them, or vice versa? And B, you're actually going to find that you're not as productive, because your competitors, if they become your collaborators or your peers, so i.e. you build relationships with them and they recognize you as being somebody who is good at what you do, you're going to find that you increase your referrals. Because like you, they cannot take every client that comes through the door, and not every client that is ideal for you is going to be ideal for them. So actually, by building networks and relationships with those competitors, with those collaborators or peers, means that you expand your network, you expand your referral system, and you have a source potentially to do joint ventures with in the future. You might collaborate on a program together or some kind of product or webinar. You know, so don't necessarily see it as being something where you have to compete in groups all the time, because honestly, you will waste your energy. And then the third type of person you want to be looking out for is the leader, okay? The leader of the group, or the influencers that are in the group, the other influencers. So people who maybe have more experience than you, people who are maybe more established than you, people who are providing congruent services, who are further along in their journey, or indeed the leader of the group who's running the community. And it's really important to establish yourself as a good participant with the leader of the community or any other influencers, because think about it, that leader of that community has done something incredible. They have brought a pool of your ideal clients together, whether it's focused on the area that you're focusing on or something that's congruent, and they've managed to keep them there and keep them engaged and keep them entertained and monetize that community, which means that ultimately they've done what you want to do, you know, or perhaps you are doing in your own group, but you also want other income streams. You want to attract other ideal clients in other places, and that's fine. Now, in order to network effectively with that leader, you want to be showing up as a good participant, you know, so respect the rules is a basic, you know, don't show up in their group. If they say no pitching, don't do some kind of weird, thinly veiled sales pitch, because honestly, A, it makes you look like a complete plonker, and B, it really, really gets their goat. You know, it really annoys them, and it makes them think, oh my God, here's another person who's just going to rock up, spam the newsfeed, not listen, not engage with the community, not partake in interesting discussions, and will just be a complete waste of energy for about 3 weeks until they get bored, realize they're not going to get clients, and leave. And I say this obviously as a group leader, okay? I see these people a lot, and equally, I see amazing people in my community who actually are the best participants. And as a result, I refer them everywhere. It doesn't matter that they're not my clients. It doesn't matter that they're not paying me. But when somebody asks, who do you know who can do XYZ, I will immediately have 3 or 4 people. I'm like, oh, these people are in my community. They're great. Go and talk to them. The way to do that is to show up and be helpful to the group leader. You know, respect the rules. Report posts that don't actually respect the rules. You know, if you see someone consistently spamming the post, the most helpful thing you can do is hit that little report button, because the group leader will see it and be like, oh, thank goodness somebody else is as invested in making this community amazing as I am. You know, it's really helpful. The other thing is, ask for the group leader's opinion on things. You know, ask them relevant questions. Don't just ask them things for the sake of getting your name known. Obviously, that's weird and creepy. But, you know, don't be afraid to tag them in something and say, hey, Jess, I have this question about sales. Like, what do you think about this? Because that does 2 things. 1, it shows them that you, A, respect their opinion and that you value it, which is always good, always nice. The second thing is that it shows them that you are genuinely there to utilize the services of the group. You're genuinely there to get support. You're genuinely there to add interesting discussions to the community. And the third thing is, it actually gives them an opportunity to showcase their expertise. Now, let's not all pretend that we are massively humble and modest. Some of us are, and I get that. But everybody loves an opportunity to talk about the things that they're good at. So when you ask a question that is relevant to the group leader's expertise, they're like, oh, this is really great because I get to talk about the thing that I'm really passionate about. You know, they're not necessarily thinking, great, I'm going to go off on this huge 40-minute rant about how awesome I am at, you know, selling or marketing or weight loss or whatever it is. But they are thinking, this is great. I've really cultivated a community where people are interested in the topics that I'm interested in and that I'm passionate about. So cultivating that relationship with the leader is key. You know, ask their opinions. If you give advice to somebody on a post and you know that the group leader could also add an element to that discussion, tag them and say, you know, this would be my opinion, but let's see what the group leader thinks too. You know, establish yourself as somebody who is going to be collaborative and who is there for connections. The group leader will refer you. You know, they will refer you to people. They will start tagging you in the group as somebody who has an area of expertise. They'll want to get to know you, and they will make you one of the influencers or the influential people in their community. And that's huge for you because that's like free advertising that you don't have to do anything for. But if you rock up and you make it very clear, this is just a hunting ground for me to get clients. So I'm going to show up and I'm just going to do my own thing. And I'm just going to write blog-worthy posts that essentially pretend to add value, but really are kind of pitchy. The group leader is going to do one of 2 things. 1, they're going to ignore you and recognize that in about 3 weeks' time, you're going to leave and you're going to go and find some other group to prey on. And 2, they'll probably remove you. You know, because they'll get tired of seeing posts that don't get engagement in their group. They'll get tired of getting complaints from people in the community saying, why is this person writing these things? Why are they doing this? And they will just remove you from the community. And then you've lost the opportunity to build relationships and build networks. And that's, you know, ultimately when you're focusing on sales, that's what you want to be focused on. The more relationships you build, the better networks you build, the better your conversions will be and the better your cash flow will be, because your net worth equals, no, that's wrong. Your network equals your net worth. Okay. So the people that you know, the networks that you build directly contribute to your cash flow. And that's why rocking up in these groups and acting in the right way is so important. Now you might be thinking, yeah, but Jess, tell me about pitching now. Because you're talking about sales and you're talking about selling groups, but you haven't talked about pitching yet. And I get it, okay? And I'm going to say a few things on pitching and, you know, pitching well in groups and also pitching in groups where you are not allowed to promote things. But before we do pitching, we have to talk about ultimately relationship building, because people buy from, as we've said a million times in this podcast, right? People buy from people. They buy from people they know. So if you're expecting to turn up in a group on a Tuesday and be selling the crap out of your services on a Wednesday, Facebook groups and Facebook group marketing may not be the sales strategy for you. Now, 80-20 is usually a good rule when we talk about pitching in Facebook groups and we talk about selling in groups. And this obviously only applies to groups where you can pitch or sell things, okay? 80-20 is your number. That's where you should be looking. 80% of the time, you should be showing up. You should be sharing value. You should be sharing tips. You should be referring people. You should be networking. You should be having interesting discussions, all of the good stuff we just talked about. And then 20% of the time, you should be rocking up with your jazz hands, ready to sell the absolute ish out of your services. Okay, that is when you show up, you tell everybody how amazing your product, your program, your services, or how incredible your latest opt-in is and why they should be getting on that train. But it is an 80-20 job, okay? And there are some ways that work really well to pitch in groups, and I purposely go for be open and transparent. If you want to pitch in a group and it allows pitches, just do the jazz hands, right? Put it out there. Be open. I am pitching my new opt-in. I want you to sign up for this thing. I want you to download this PDF. I want you to buy my program. I know that it would add value to the people in this group because I really, really love open, transparent pitching, because actually it shows that that person, A, respects the community, B, feels like they have built relationships, and C, they are really, really proud of their product or service, okay? Because let's face it, when somebody gets up and I've got this mental image, right? When somebody gets up in a bar to do karaoke, let's just roll with this analogy for a minute. When somebody gets up in a bar to do karaoke, when the person calls their name and they're like, Jessica Lorimer is gonna sell, no, Jessica Lorimer is gonna sing, Once Upon a Time, I don't know. I think my karaoke song would probably be that one from Titanic, the Celine Dion one. I kind of feel like I could rock that out. But anyway, once the person yells their name and everyone's clapping and cheering, if the person who's about to do karaoke struts their stuff up onto the stage and they pick up the microphone with confidence and they take a sip of their glass of wine, you can tell I've done this a few times, right? But if they do that, everyone in that audience knows that they are either about to belt out the best version of Whitney Houston that you've ever heard, or that they're going to be absolutely terrible but provide an amazing comedy performance and that they're okay with you to laugh. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, if you have the karaoke queen who has been forced into the situation, i.e. all of her friends have written it on a very small piece of paper with a Spice Girls kind of remix as the song choice, and yes, I've also been there, and it takes like 5 of her friends to drag her up from her bar stool, push her onto the stage, and her shoulders are hunched, she feels very uncomfortable, and she kind of like hopes her way through the song, i.e. hopes that people are going to start either cheering, booing, or singing for her. You know that that person probably isn't about to deliver the best performance of their life, okay? And that they feel uncomfortable about that situation, and rightly so, right? It's a horrible thing to do to people, and I feel like we should all agree right now that we will never, ever volunteer our friends as tribute for karaoke. Unless, of course, you're my friends, in which case I've already done it, and I'm sending you big apologies right now. But anyway, it's the same with selling in groups, right? When you go into a Facebook group and you promote your product or service and you are out there, you are loud and proud, you've got that microphone, everybody knows that you're confident, that you're happy, that you trust your product, and that you know you are in the right space to get the right eyes on that offer. And that's really important because your confidence ultimately is going to do a lot of the selling for you. It's not your sales copy. It's not the stuff that the template you use to write the post or whatever. It's you. It's how you feel about the product and how you shout about it and how proud you are. Now, the other end of the scale of that, and what we see in a lot of Facebook groups, especially Facebook groups where you cannot promote publicly, and we're going to cover off how we can use those groups to get clients in a sec. But the other end of the spectrum to that is the person who does the thinly veiled pitch. Okay. Now you can hear it in my voice right now. I'm like the thinly veiled pitch, because as a group owner and as somebody who has participated in a number of Facebook groups over the years, I've seen a number of thinly veiled pitches. And I'm just going to throw out there a couple of definitions so that just in case you don't know, a thinly veiled pitch is where you are hanging out in a community where you're not supposed to promote anything. You know, you're not allowed to pitch anything. And so instead, what you do is try and ram little / huge hints into the group that you are not actively promoting, but you secretly kind of are. Now, these are usually defined, but not exclusive, not an exclusive list or an exhaustive list, maybe I should say, but things like, I am a sales expert, so I just want to give these 3 tips on sales because did I mention I'm a sales expert with a lot of sales experience? That kind of post, when I see it, it makes me cringe and laugh at the same time because I'm like, oh, for goodness sake, just show up. Give the genuine value, like give the 3 tips without all the BS about I'm a this, I'm a that. And actually, in the comments, because people will be interested in your post, they'll be like, oh, how do you know that? What do you do? And you can then be like, actually, I've been in sales for 12 years. And that's where I kind of got this knowledge. And they'll be impressed rather than downright irritated that that's the route you chose to take, right? The second thing, okay, and this is one of my personal favorites, is people who write a really long post in the hope that nobody will, well, maybe that people will read it to the end, but not the group leader, and they sign it off with their business page. Sneaky, sneaky, sneaky. We see you. I'm like, we see you. I'm here doing my binocular face. And we know that you're tagging your business page. And we know that that's a thinly veiled sales pitch because you hope that somebody is going to read to the end of that ridiculously long post and then see your business page and be like, oh, secret promotion. Love your style. That's not going to happen, FYI. You just look like a dick. And I'm sorry to say that so bluntly, but it's true, right? You do. The third one is the memes. Now, don't get me wrong, right? I love a good GIF. You know, I think they're hilarious. I really do need to improve my GIF game, but I love a good GIF. I also don't mind a hilarious meme. You know, I don't mind a hilarious meme of a cat, or I love the one that is the little dog that points that says, who's awesome? You're awesome. That one makes me really happy. And it's one that I used to use in corporate as well. But the inspirational quotes that have your business name and your website address emblazoned across the bottom, also a thinly veiled pitch. Because in a group where you can't promote, if you are rocking up and being like, here's my website, but also here's some inspiration so it doesn't look like I'm promoting, you're promoting. Okay, it just is what it is. And also FYI for those people, nobody, I repeat, nobody in the history of the world has ever changed their life because they saw an inspirational quote on a meme. Okay, I'm sorry. I really am, but nobody has ever done it. So please don't do it. Like, share them, sure, share the quotes. It's great. Sometimes they look beautiful, but don't expect people to buy from you or make epic changes or take epic action because you wrote a Gandhi quote on a nice background. Okay, just throwing that out there. Anyway, there are numerous other examples. We've all seen them, okay? Thinly veiled pitching is not okay. It's not okay in any sense because it does all of the things that we don't want it to do. One, it really irritates the heck out of the group owner. And that's never a good look, okay? When you irritate the group owner and the group leader, they watch out for your posts and they automatically scan them, and anything that you do that they see as marginally overstepping the rules, they're just going to delete. And if you don't be careful, they're going to remove you altogether. The second thing is it shows everybody else in there that you don't have integrity or that you can't read rules. Like, take your pick, okay? And people actually, when they're rocking up in these communities, they are joining to be part of something. And so actually you'll find that people get really, really territorial about those spaces and they want to protect it. They want to protect the safety of that space and the validity of that space for everybody to be able to share, for everybody to be able to win. And so you'll find that they start reporting your posts too, or that they reach out to the group leader and they say, this person keeps writing these posts and we feel like we're being sold to. Are they okay or are they not? And again, go back to point one, you'll really irritate the group owner, because believe me, when your inbox blows up because one person can't write a post that just gives genuine value, you're going to really, really alienate yourself. Okay. The other thing is that it shows it shows other people that you are insecure about what you're selling. Okay. Now you might not think that first off. You might be like, yeah, but in these groups where I can't promote outwardly, I have to be sneaky McSneakerson about it. And so that's why I'm trying to hint at my new program. But actually what it shows is that you're not confident enough to actually show up in and participate in that group and attract clients and direct people back to your own Facebook group or email list, or get them interested enough in you so that they build some kind of deeper relationship with you, and then sell to them transparently. That's what happens. Okay, that's what then happens. It makes you look insecure and it makes you look like you are not confident. And it also establishes to 99.9% of people on the internet that you haven't grown your own audience, and therefore you are very, very worried about your income stream and you don't know how to generate your own cash flow, how to build your own tribe, or how to monetize it. Okay. And that's not something you want to be putting out over the internet. So in groups where you cannot promote outwardly, just don't, right? Instead of thinking up the next clever way to make a thinly veiled sales pitch, think about, how can I actually leverage this situation to use it as a funnel? Okay. How can I actually show up in this group and give value and make people feel like they would like to follow me? That they found me in this group, but they'd actually like to come and join my own Facebook group, or they'd actually like to join my email list because I'm relevant. Now, there are a couple of things that you've got to look at here. One, if you're in groups where you cannot promote, please be in a group that is relevant to what you are selling. Okay. Now, I've heard a lot of people have said clients are everywhere. And that's true. You know, you could go to your hairdressers and you could potentially get a client. That would involve every single star aligning and would not be a normal occurrence. Okay. But say you go into the hairdressers and you are selling scissors, you are way more likely to get a client because that hairdresser is using a tool that you supply regularly. And it's quite likely that they probably have issues with their suppliers, etc., etc. And so you're 90% more likely to make that sale. Okay. So when you're thinking about groups that you cannot promote in, think about, am I actually in a group that A, contains my ideal clients, i.e. the ones that not all of the stars have to be aligned for, and B, am I selling something that is congruent to what the group leader is doing? Because you are going to find way more success and way more referrals in a group where the group leader is selling something congruent to what you're doing rather than directly competitive. There are two reasons there. One, people have joined that person's group because they want to learn from that person and because they like that person. So they already have a relationship and they already know what that person sells. Meaning that if it comes to some kind of weird dance-off sales pitch competition between the two of you, that group leader is probably going to win because they already have an established relationship. People already know, like, and trust them, and it's their community. So you're going to find that more people purchase from them. The second thing is that if you sell something that is congruent to the leader rather than directly competitive, they're going to refer you a ton of leads, especially if you do all of the stuff we talked about around being a great group participant, because ultimately they can't do everything. They cannot do every single aspect of the business or the health or the life or the relationship, coaching, products, services, related realms. They can only do what they do best. So they're always going to be looking for people to refer. And if you are congruent and collaborative rather than competitive, you're going to end up with a ton more referrals. And that's a great thing. Okay. Now, the second thing is when you're looking at that congruency, you've got to be thinking, am I actually selling something that's relevant to the people in this group? So yes, that person may have 10,000 people in their weight loss group, but if you rock up and you're trying to sell accounting services, again, very unlikely that you're going to make a sale. So really separate your communities, really separate your Facebook groups into, these are groups that I believe that I sell something that's congruent to the leader and I will make sales from and I will get clients from. And these are groups that I use for my own learning and development. Okay, that's simple. Okay, now the other thing is when you can't pitch in groups, you might be thinking, well, Jess, it's a complete waste of my time me being in those groups then, because if I can't pitch, then, and I can't do the thinly veiled sales promos, then what am I supposed to do? And it's a great question. Okay, but the way you've got to think about it is like a funnel. This is your attract stage of your funnel. Okay, so when you show up as a great group participant, when you show up, you add value, when you talk about your area of expertise, when you give tips, and this is on a genuine level, you know, when you're giving without expectation and you're showing up and you're adding value and being a great participant, all that good stuff. What you find is that people want to investigate you, especially if you do this consistently. So if you're showing up, you know, every couple of days with some great information, with some great tips, you know, recommendations, etc., people are going to click on your personal profile and they're going to go and try and find you, because suddenly they're interested in you. Suddenly your congruent service is interesting to them because they didn't know they needed it before, but now they do. So make sure that your personal Facebook profile is set up for success, i.e. it's set up to drive people across to your Facebook group or to your email list. And that means, you know, changing your header photo and directing people to your Facebook group from there, or in your intro section of your Facebook profile, writing about your Facebook group there, you know, linking to your business page, just the basic things that are going to help people find you and become members of your community. And then ultimately, when they're members of your community, you get to do the really cool thing of selling transparently, doing the jazz hands, and making all of the money. Okay, so hopefully that has really helped you guys out, knowing how you can rock up in some Facebook groups, how you can pitch without being sleazy, how you can avoid being the gross, icky, isolated member and actually be the well-connected, communicative, collaborative member that everybody wants to hang out with and buy from. In the next episode, I'm going to be talking about the 3 things that you must do to generate immediate revenue in your business without all the faff, without all the funnels, without all the tech nightmares. So make sure you head over, hit that subscribe button and download that next episode. And if you do have any questions about this episode, you want to reach out to me, just head over, email me, jessica@jessicalorimer.com, or join my Facebook group, the Smart Leaders Sales Society. It's totally free. You can come in there, learn some stuff, and enjoy networking with some epic connections. I will see you in the next episode.